Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namo Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namo Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namo Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namo Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namo Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namo Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ya Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tiravanachari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravajagacharya Ashto Trishata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Thakur Haridas Ki Jai. Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Umanamai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Rani Ki Jai. Vrinda Ki Shri Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Jai. ISKCON BVT Samsthapaka Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for coming and blessing us. And just a small request: if all of you can move, whatever front you can move, please. That will help. There are some devotees standing behind. So if you, 3.75 as Valimardhan Prabhu told, please, all of you can move 3.75 inches forward, or whatever space you see in the front, please cover it. Thank you so much.
The perfection of bodily touch is to touch the bodies of the devotees. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnanam Janashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Uttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Pam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madgavira Vigopala Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaivasam Payaha Pitva Hrishayustat Priyajanaham. Anybody was here last night? Raise your hand. Some of you know. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In the end of his 10th canto commentary, he prays to Lord Gopal. He says, "My dear Lord, only if you accept my words as your cows, then they can provide enough sweet milk to give pleasure to your pure devotees." This is an assembly of pure devotees and discriminating rasikas, so I know I have to be careful what I say, and I'm just praying following in the footsteps of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that maybe my words can be suitable to help someone. So we're discussing Bhagavad-gita tonight, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and savior of the modern world. This is, in other words, Bhagavad-gita as it is. And we're on text number 27 of the 9th chapter. The 9th chapter is the most confidential knowledge. And within that 9th chapter, we have a very famous verse, which I'm sure many of you already know. For those who don't know yet, it's one of those verses you should learn. What does Krishna say? Yad karoshi yad ashnasi yad johoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi dahanteya tat kurushva mad ardapanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering unto me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for the maintenance of his body, and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious, ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical for this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours a day by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra around his beads, he is surely the greatest meditator and the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Which verse is Srila Prabhupada referring to in the final sentence of this purport? 6th chapter? Okay, you're all educated audience, so you know. Of all the yogis, Krishna says, one who has fixed his mind on me and who worships me with great faith, he is the best of all the yogis. Some of us worship Krishna, but we don't have so much faith. So that's not what Krishna is talking about. You have to be shraddhavan. Bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mata. He's got the best engagement of anybody. So here we have a little bit more explicit information about exactly how we do this. Everybody does things. What do you do? What do you do all day long? We do kaj. Kaj. Yes. Kaj comes from which we were discussing this last night. We have Hindi shabda honte hain. Tad sama, ek prakar ke Hindi shabda, or tad bhava, dusra prakar. So tad sama means it's exactly the same as it is in Sanskrit, and tad bhava means it's almost the same. So in Sanskrit, what is the word? Karya, karya. Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, na tat samas chabhyate kascha drishyate, parasya shaktir vividhaeva shruyate, swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. This is the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Shruti mantra, tells us that, well, the difference between us and Krishna. Krishna has everything automatically taken care of by his potencies. What kind of potencies? Bala, Jnana, Kriya Shakti. The potency to do something, the potency to know everything, the potency to act properly. Krishna has these potencies. We don't. That's why we're struggling. Prakriti sthani karshati. We're situated in the Lord's energy. That energy we would like to control, but she's controlling us. And we have no ability to exploit Krishna's energy. We were discussing this the other night in Dublin. Generally, people pray to Ganesh, Vinayaka. What's he known as in Chennai? Huh? Pilayar. Every T intersection, he'll be there. Zarur. I should say Kandipa. So this is Ganesh. So people worship Ganesh, especially Marathi log, right? And who else do they worship? Well, they worship all kinds of people, but I'll give you a hint. Diwali, Lakshmi and Ganesh. So why Ganesh? Why Lakshmi? Ganesh because he's Vighna Vinashaka, yes. He's destroying all the obstacles. Now, he's also called Vinayaka, right? Or for you from Chennai, Vinayagar. So what does Vinayaka mean? Have I explained this here before? No. I think so. Maybe you don't remember, but I remember. Vinayaka. Ni. Ni means nayati, to you know, it's not just a hospital. To lead someone. So Ganesh he's not Nayaka, he's Vinayaka. What does that mean? If you have this pratyaya vi, it means two things. It means one thing is vishesh, or as we say in Hindi, visheshkar, especially Nayaka, or what else? Vigata, in the opposite direction, ulta. So he's called Vinayaka, because he's actually leading us in the wrong direction. He's removing all the obstacles to material life. That's why we worship him. We want those obstacles. Riddhi, siddhi, all this shubha labha, right? Everybody wants these things. And Lakshmi, it's even more explicit if we think about Lakshmi Devi's position. We were talking about Lakshmi last night. How powerful is this Lakshmi? Everybody thinks Durga is the most supreme deity for all things that you might want. She's just a part and parcel. She's just a plenary expansion of Lakshmi Devi, in fact. Lakshmi is the real thing. And we want this, she's also called Shri. And we want Shri, but we don't want Shri Pati. So we can just double click on Shri Pati and we'll take Shri. This is our position. We go to the temple and we pray, my dear Lord, please give me some money. That's like going to some person, some man, saying, please, let me enjoy your wife, please. You have to say please. It's actually an offense, isn't it? The whole thing is the wrong direction, and that's coming by the grace of Vinayaka. Now, we don't mean to blaspheme demigods. That's not what we're doing here. They perform their function in accordance with Govinda's order. Where do we learn this from? Brahma Samhita. Who knows the verse for Ganapati? Yat pada pallava yugam vinidhaya kumbhe dvandve pranama samaye saganadhiraja vighnan vihantum alam asya jagat trayasya. In the three worlds. The three worlds means the three material worlds. That's where he's removing the vighnas. And if he removes all your vighnas in the material world, that means you're thoroughly entangled in this material world. But that's his job. Everybody has a job to do. Look at it this way also. If you go to the DMV, California DMV, and you want to get a driver's license, are you the proper age? Check. Are you able to drive? Check. You've taken the driver training course? Check. All the qualifications are there. In other words, the adhikar is there. Then what do? They give you your license. It comes in the mail a week or two later, right? Is there any love involved? No. They don't care who you are. They don't know. They're just doing their job. This is demigods. They're very pious because you can't do that job unless you have tremendous amount of adhikar, which you have earned through a tremendous amount of tapasya and punya and so much good karma. Every one of us can become a demigod. Many of us were already demigods. Do you remember when you were Brahma? Look at you now. Struggling on the 680 in high traffic. Lord Brahma. No, this is true. This is in the I think the Chandogya Upanishad, Briharanyaka Upanishad, I don't think. This seer, Vamadev, he had a stunning epiphany one day. He had a shocking realization. He thought, oh my God, once I was the sun. Once I was Manu. Who am I now? We have to think. We don't really know who we are. And somebody who removes all the obstacles to you getting further entangled in this world is not really doing you a favor, but that is the whole purpose of these demigods. Why are they doing this? Because Govinda wants to make sure that the people who have some attitude problem, they have to work out that problem before they can actually come back to the spiritual world. That's what it comes down to. This is like a prison house. And where do we hear this? Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. Yeah, this time it's right. Last night it was wrong. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Sadhana Shakti Reka, Chayeva, Yasya Bhuvanani Bibharti Durga. Ichhanu Rupam Api Yasya Chateshtate Sa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. She's the Chaya of whom? We mentioned already, she's the Chaya of Lakshmi. But she's not inducing or encouraging or giving blessings for devotional service. She's doing the same thing with regard to your material existence. Things within the realm of Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. Sadhana Shakti Reka, Chayava Yasya Bhuvanani, Bibharja. In this Bhuvana. Bhuvana. And what is the third line now? Ichhanurupam api yasya chacheshtate sa. She's carrying out her orders. Who is giving her those orders? Yes, Govinda. In accordance with Govinda's order, she's acting. They're all agents Agents means they're very highly trusted devotees. Priyavrata Maharaj, do we remember in the 5th canto? Priyavrata Maharaj, he didn't want to get married. But because he was he was in the family of Prajapatis, that's what he's supposed to do. He didn't want to do his duty. That's what it comes down to. And, his father tried to convince him, and they had to call Narad Muni heavy guns, right, to convince him. Because his fear was, if I get married, then I'll get entangled and I'll be in Maya, and he didn't want that to happen. And in fact, after they all convinced him that, go ahead and get married, what happened? He became entangled exactly as he feared. For those of you in Saturn, sometimes you're doing the right thing for the right reason and guided by the right personalities, but still it doesn't work. Why? Because it's not supposed to work. And this is, there was an actor, actually. I saw a film clip somebody sent me, some famous actor. I don't know who these people are because I'm not in that world, but he was a famous Hollywood actor, but he was totally depressed, just like many Bollywood actors. You hear in the news, they're found hanging from the fan, right? So many of them. So, he was going to kill himself. And, he was just sitting in his house thinking about this, just ready to do whatever it was he was going to do. And then suddenly he heard a disembodied voice, Akashavani. And the voice said, "It's not supposed to be easy." And it was just stunned him. Who spoke that? Where is this message? Where is it coming from? It's God. See? So by Govinda's order, all these demigods, they're acting in the material world just to keep us out of the spiritual world unless and until we rectify our hearts. And when we finally come to the human life after 8,400,000 other options, then we have a very short window of opportunity to actually do something about it. So while you're here, you have to try to do something about this predicament, because you are going to die, everybody. It's not a threat, but it's definitely an accurate prediction. Everybody in this room will be dead within 100 years, most likely. So while you have this chance to do something about it, take advantage. Human life is different from animal life because human beings can think about, well, what is that thing that distinguishes us from animals? Yes. Dharmasya hina. Yes. Without, and Prabhupada mentions, every civilized man in his purport, he says, what does it say here? Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is what we find in Bhagavad-gita also says. Krishna says, do your duty, but give it as an offering unto me. That is good. Aisa hona chahiye. So these demigods, they're facilitating our material life only to make sure that we're actually qualified if and when we choose to enter into the spiritual world. So now, while we have a human form of life, instead of trying to become happy in material life for another few decades only, and I'll warn you, if you're below 50, you have to know, time speeds up the older you get. Definitely it speeds up, or it feels that way at least. I told this once to Jayadvaita Swami. I said, it feels like as we get older, time is just speeding up. The years are flying by the way that months used to go. And he said, no, it's not speeding up. You're slowing down. I think it must be something more like that. Anyway, while we can, we have to take advantage of this human form of life. How many Tamilians here? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay. Yeah, a few. So this Velukuri Krishnan, he has his trust. We stayed at his ashram in Alwar Tirunagari in South India. We were doing some programs there. He kindly hosted us. So his trust is called Kinchit Karam Trust. Anybody know what Kinchit Karam might mean? You can guess. Do something. Do something while you can. Take advantage of this human life and do something about it. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going. Just as we have no idea where we were 100 years ago. Anybody want to break out of the mold and give me some answers? Where were you 100 years ago? They have no idea. Where are we coming from? Where are we going? We have no idea. Now, therefore, there's no guarantee that we're not going back into some animal form. It's possible. If we think like... I was in the airport once and I saw a billboard there that think like a dog. Ayo. What is this? If you think like a dog, Baba, you're going to become a dog. There's a joke about this. I don't want to get too far afield, but it's funny. One man in Karnataka, I don't know if it's a true story or not, he really badly, he wanted to come to America, right? He must have been a farmer. It's better than killing yourself, right? So he went to a Jyotish, astrologer, and he said, I just want to know my future. So the astrologer looked at his chart and considered everything for a few moments. A good astrologer can do that. And he told him, I see that you're going to take your next birth in America. And the man said, really? Oh, that saves me a lot of money. I don't have to go now. So you're going to have a very expensive mansion, and that will be in Beverly Hills. And you'll have the dog has to be there. Anybody who's been to West LA, the dog hona parega. So, he said, and that will not be an Indian dog. It cannot be an Indian dog. It's like in India now, they're getting dogs, in the cities at least, and it will never be an Indian dog. Have you noticed? It has to be a Videshi dog, So, and you're everywhere. Everyone is going to feed you anything you don't have to worry about any bills. You don't have to. Everything will be supplied to you, and you'll be chauffeured around in a private limousine in Beverly Hills, California, very wealthy neighborhood. And he's just getting more and more excited. And he's definitely is going to be, because you're going to take birth in California, Beverly Hills, as a toy poodle. As these little dogs, you see all the girls in Beverly Hills, they have a tiny purse, and there will be a tiny dog sitting in that purse. Yeah, they're called toy poodles. They're tiny, tiny little dogs. So, this is your future. So be careful. You don't know. People, I live in Vrindavan, so I see it every day. People come, the first thing they want to know is all about the Nukunj Lila, right? Or they want to practice some esoteric Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Are Baba, first of all, study the 8,400,000 species of life, because you got to know what the qualification is for each of them so that you can tell you're not going to become one of them. Or at least cultivate, the consciousness that I am not this body. That realization has to come first. And all the Shastras help us. First thing we have to master, according to all the acharyas, even Shankara agrees. First thing you have to master, if you would study seriously, say Vedanta philosophy, you have to learn what? Sadachara. Good behave properly. Be a civilized human being. Act in the right way. Shishtachara, we also call it. Then you can study philosophy. Then you can maybe realize you're not your body, because after all, that's the beginning of devotional service. It's not the goal of devotional service, liberation. Liberation is the beginning of devotional service. Only in that state, Krishna says in chapter 18, can a person actually practice param bhakti, right? You all know the verse. Yes. And there are some symptoms there, just in case there's some doubt. You can test. Who's on that platform? Na kankshati. He's not envious of anybody. He's not hankering after things he doesn't have, and that includes even the Mercedes-Benz or whatever the neighbor is doing. And na shochati. He's not blaming somebody else for his problems and crying like a baby, whining and complaining about all the time. That's called shoshati. And therefore, he can be non-envious. Therefore, he can actually be equal. Nowadays, they always talk about equality, especially here in the Bay Area. And it's just a political trick that they want to exploit the less intelligent people. Just like the so-called caste system that they hate. It's the same thing, equally cheating. In the name of equality, they're just trying to exploit people. It's very clear. And Prabhupada says, real equality can only be there when we have spiritual realization behind it, because people are not equal on the material platform. There are so many, I would love to dance, I can't do that. Somebody might want to sing that they can't do it. Or, whatever it is. We all have some degree of good karma and some degree of bad karma, and that's not going to change in this life. Hote over time it will change. But, why risk, how do you know you're going to get another human birth, as we've been describing? So, the best thing is to use this life while we can for Krishna consciousness. And Krishna is suggesting here, the principle of devotional service is that whatever you're already doing, then just do it for me. Raise your hand if you don't drink water here. Yeah, everybody drinks water. So, you're going to do this anyway. Now, how are you going to do it? What kind of consciousness are you going to have when you drink water? Are you just going to think about how nice it feels for your tongue? Or can you maybe elevate your consciousness and think, Rasoham apsu kaunteya, as Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita. What does it mean? I am that taste in water. Or, just like I was talking with somebody last night, that, when you take a shower, everybody bathes, right? Yes. I hope. It smells like everybody bathes. So, when you're bathing, you can meditate on the soap or the shower knob or what you're going to eat for breakfast, or, right? You can do like this. Or you can meditate, it's too hot or it's too cold. But why not meditate that, what is that verse? Chidananda bhano sadananda suno. So many verses that we hear from the Shastras, from Srimad-Bhagavatam, about the Yamuna, the glory of the Yamuna River. What does Rupa Goswami says? He says, what is that? Yeah, my mind has gone blank again. But there's so many verses that glorifying the Yamuna. We can remember the Yamuna, and even we can pray to the Yamuna. Rupa Goswami says if you cannot live in Mathura, then at least you can meditate that you're living in Mathura. And it becomes, if you do that every day, when you do something as banal as taking a shower, then eventually that experience becomes associated with divine thoughts. And when that happens, your subtle body is purified and elevated. And when your subtle body is elevated, that is the basis of your next life. In this way, manmana bhava, madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. These four simple things, here is an expanded list in today's verse, but the principle is the same. So yad juhoshi, yad karoshi, whatever you're doing, yad ashnasi, whatever you eat. Raise your hand if you never eat. Yeah, I didn't think so. Everybody eats. So you take, if you're hungry, one saint in Vrindavan said, you go feed Krishna and give Krishna what Krishna likes. He's a person. Treat him like a person. Then he'll reciprocate like a person. I told someone this story that, anybody ever heard the name of Yogi Sri Krishna Prem? A fascinating character about 100 years ago. He was British. And he was a World War I pilot. That means he had to have been pretty smart, because that was brand new technology in those days. So he was sharp. And, he was very highly qualified, so they made him a fighter pilot. So one day in combat over Europe, his whole squadron was shot down by the Germans. And he was the only one left. And he's surrounded by Germans coming at him. What would you do? He didn't know what to do. He flew his plane straight up towards the sun, just hoping against hope that maybe I can just shake them off somehow. What happened next, he doesn't know, but he woke up on the runway back in England. And that experience just so shook him to the core. What on earth just happened to me? That, he just had to find some answers to life's big questions. So he took up the study of all the things that were current then. Now we call it New Age. In those days it was called Theosophy and, the Buddhism. And he learned Pali and Sanskrit. And eventually he came to Hinduism. And through one of his colleagues in the university, because he was a literary man before the army, he was very highly educated in English literature. So he ended up associated with friends in I think it was either BHU or maybe it was Prayag, Allahabad University. So one Bengali professor there, they were devotees, Bengali Vaishnavas. So he learned about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about Krishna consciousness, and he actually ended up taking initiation in the line of the Radharaman Goswamis, became a devotee. So, but he was very deep in the Gyan, a little bit not exactly pure devotee. So, he still had some advancement to make. But somehow or other, he built himself an ashram in Mirtola. Anybody know where that is? Near Nainital, northern UP, in the foothills of the Himalayas. It gets cold there at night, just like this. This window is open. If there weren't 100 people in this room, it might be colder in here than it is. So he was taking rest in the ashram, austere brahmachari, just, nothing. Real brahmacharis, that's how they live. Just nothing. They have nothing. And he was resting in the temple at night, and he heard a voice. What did the voice say? Because his guru was Bengali, the voice said, Dada. He woke up. He thought he heard something. And it must be some dream or something. He went back to sleep. Dada. He says, Dada means big brother, right? He said, I'm called. What is this? He's looking around for some little child or something. He doesn't know what's happening. Nobody's in the temple. Then he traced out the sound, and he found that it's coming from the altar. Oh, this is serious. He took a shower. He went in the altar to see what's happening here. He saw that the deity was placed to rest in his bed right next to an open window. And then he said, "What you mean?" He didn't know how to process this. He heard the voice. He heard someone talking to him, and he goes in there. He said, "Thakurji, you feel cold also?" And Thakurji said nothing in reply. He did not respond. Instead, his name was Ronald Nixon before. He saw the little tear coming out of the deity's eye. He hurt Krishna's feelings with his question. Okay, he thinks I'm just a stone. I'm seeing him as my big brother, and he's looking at me like a stone. Krishna was hurt. Krishna is a person. God is a person. There was a book somebody gave me here, right? You've seen Sarup Damodar? God is a person. Just straight. Prabhupada would like that. Huh? Is it? There's another one by Sarup Damodar, I think. Okay, yeah, no, this is I believe it's Sarup Damodar anyway. So this is the point. If we approach Krishna as a person, then Krishna will reciprocate as he is. Therefore, it's called Bhagavad-gita as it is. It's like having a 400-page letter from God telling you what to do. So here he's telling us very simply, just, Baba, what you're going to do something, do it for me. You're going to eat something, eat my prasadam. If you're hungry, you feed Krishna, and you give him what he likes. Now, just to expand on that, Rupa Goswami says, also it's very good to give the deity what you like, because you're sacrificing it, right? And then instead of eating it, you give it to someone else. Generally what we do is we choose what we like, we offer it to Krishna, and then we enjoy it. I was talking to someone the other day. They said that when they were kids, their parents are strict Sri Vaishnavas, So they had big deities of Lakshmi Narayan in their home. And she said that when they were kids, they used to go on the altar and they used to steal the sweets from the deities. We know better than that, but we still, it's highly motivated, our so-called devotional service. So whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, just like you see these guys on the street corner, right? Especially in San Francisco, I would think there's too many of them now because they've legalized crime and emptied out the mental institutions and everything. So, but we'll work for food or, to give indiscriminately in charity, it doesn't really help people. It doesn't help the person you're giving to because most likely he's going to misuse that money. And it doesn't help you either because you will get the karmic reaction of whoever you give to. That's why the injunction in the Vedas is a little bit more focused and says you should give to a person who is spiritually advanced, someone who has dedicated himself to fulfilling God's desire, because then you get the benefit of also participating in the fulfillment of God's desire. So this is why we give in charity to the Bhudevas. Who are the Bhudevas? Yeah, they're like gods on the earth because they're transparent. This is the point. They're not working for themselves. That's the definition of transparent. They're whatever Krishna wants, that's what they're doing. People who have internalized tonight's verse, these are the people that you have to give in charity to, because that will benefit you. It is as good as serving God directly. And that's what Prabhupada recommends here in the purport. He makes it even more explicit, actually, Prabhupada says. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Because, think about it, nunam pramatta kurate vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranoti. As long as we remain in ignorance, that's called abodhajata. We haven't realized anything as human beings yet. As long as we maintain that immature condition, then we can hardly control our minds and hardly stop from committing sinful activity. A person in the bodily concept of life, that is to say, a person overwhelmed by false ego, that person has to perform sinful acts. And if you give in charity to that person, then you become entangled in that karma also. It does no one any good. So, this is the point. Whatever you give away in charity, do it as an offering unto me, Krishna says. Yatapasyasi, what austerities you perform. We all perform austerities, as we said in the beginning. Natasya karyam karanam chavidyate. Lord Vishnu has no karya to perform. And certainly if Lord Vishnu has no obligatory duty, then Krishna also has none, right? So how does Krishna spend his whole day? What does he do all day long, God? He just plays. That's all he does. Total irresponsibility. And the devotees worship that. That is non-envy. If anybody's just enjoying all day, has no responsibility, everybody hates him, isn't it? This is Krishna's position. Even Vishnu has something to do, right? Purusha avatars are, manifesting universes and all this. But Krishna himself, sirf play. Kevala krida. And not only play, but, especially when he gets a little older, who's he playing with? Your wife. One Christian man came to Srila Prabhupada once, South Indian Christian man. And he said, he was a challenging mood. He said, we don't worship this God because he's immoral, Krishna. And Prabhupada, how so? He said, well, he's dancing with other people's wives. Anybody would say that's immoral, right? So Prabhupada very patiently explained to him, look, every woman in the three worlds actually is the property of Bhagavan. And, the demigoddesses, apsaras, and, every single woman in the whole creation is expanded from him. They are his property. You cannot deny it. Everything but Ishavastyam Edam Sarvam Yat, what is it? Jagatyam Jagata. So everything in this world, according to Ishopanishad, it is Bhagavan's property. So Prabhupada is explaining like this. That means that all these gopis were also Bhagavan's property. It has to be so. It can only be so. And in fact, not only these gopis, but all the women in this world also, including your wife, sir. So who's the immoral one? You're enjoying... Another time, one wealthy industrialist came to see Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, "What? Just small talk." He said, "What do you? What is your business?" He said, "We have a glass factory, Srila Prabhupada." "Oh, okay. How do you make glass? Where does glass come from?" He said, "Oh, we need gypsum." Where does the gypsum come from?" "Gypsum comes from sand." And Prabhupada continued, "Where does the sand come from?" The man said, "Oh, the sand comes from Bhagavan." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, you're taking Bhagavan's sand and you're making a profit?" Common sense arguments Srila Prabhupada had, because his Krishna consciousness is so immediate that, because of having deeply internalized this principle in his own life. We discussed this last night. Krishna tells us, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, they realize Krishna consciousness. For everybody else, it remains a phantasmagoria. Just as some kind of pie-in-the-sky dream, mythology, something. Devotees actually realize these things. And they, more than just realizing Bhagavad-gita, they also realize Srimad-Bhagavatam. And that means they realize Krishna's leelas and his qualities and his form. And eventually they enter into those things eternally. It's just a question of what your choices are while you can make these choices. My godbrother says it's like an elevator. Have you heard me say this before? Elevator door, when it opens, generally when the elevator door opens, you don't really have to get out of the elevator, right? You can stay in the elevator if you choose. But usually people have some goal in mind, right? Do we? Yes. So we're standing in an elevator door. The elevator door opens. You've pushed a button. You've made your plan. You're just, and now it's time to execute your plan. You step out of the elevator. Now what happens if you don't push a button? You're going to go wherever somebody else pushed their button. That's where you're going. Sangat sanjayate kama. According to the association, you'll just go along with them. Sangha, samyak gacchati. This is the meaning of sangha. Yeah, do you understand this? Samyak gacchati. It all goes together. So, So another thing is that life is, why is it like an elevator again? Because that door stays open for just a few moments, not very long. And similarly, we have just a few decades. And if you don't believe me, kids, those of you who are young, it's, as I said, just wait. You'll see, decades, 2-3 decades gone, and then it really speeds up. And you better get it together. Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaumadam acharet prajno. A wise person begins really early. We put so much planning into our careers, right? College, to choose a college, I applied to half a dozen colleges when I was that age. Choosing a spouse, buying a house, invest, whatever you're doing in life, we put so much attention into it. But when it comes to our spiritual life, we just wing it. What kind of plan is that? That's the person who's just in the elevator and, mutal adu. Clueless goat. The goats, right? The goats, a whole flock of goats, one of them goes somewhere, they all follow. Unquestioningly, we are like that. Devamrita Swami, he's so sharp. Anybody know Devamrita Swami? Yes. He says it's called mass consensual trance. We're like that, actually. We just don't have a clue as to where we're going, what it's all for, how we're going to get there. We don't have a plan. We don't even know we don't even have a process that we might plan on. But Krishna consciousness provides all of these things. And it's not somebody's modern creation. This is coming since time immemorial. 1,000 years ago, I was just in Chennai. You've been to Mappedu? Chennai, Wale? Mappedu, you know where it is? On the west side. So many factories there, multinational corporations are putting up their things and enslaving the local population as if they never even got independence in 1947. But there's an ancient temple there called Singeshwar temple. You know the one? It's 1,000 years old. It's 1,000 years old. Marakata Linga, Marakata, emerald lingam. Yes. So very, very auspicious place, old place. You know, they have been doing this for 1,000 years. Other temples as well, Srirangam temple, more famous for the Vaishnavas. And this is not a new thing. You come to Vrindavan, you'll see people are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Ram. Just like in the Hare Krishna temple, people are wearing tilak, and the same thing, everything. So it is a proven, time-tested science. And all we have to do is submissively hear and be ready to learn something which requires a little bit of humility. And then if we're still sincere, then to hear something is not enough. I always dilate on this thing. Why does Krishna in chapter 4, text number 10 of Bhagavad-gita call knowledge and austerity? Does anybody know? Who knows the verse? 4:10. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta. They all became purified by knowledge, by the austerity of knowledge. Why is knowledge and austerity? Huh? Well, first of all, you have to accumulate that knowledge. That means you have to, lift weights and practice so that you can lift up the book. It's really hard, I know, but it has been done. People can do this. And then, you have to read it, actually. We mentioned last night, the only book people read in 2024 is Facebook. So, to acquire that knowledge, it's an austerity. But then once you actually understand the knowledge, then what happens? You've got some choices to make, don't you? You've heard something. It's like Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, and it's like, wow, all my options are being limited suddenly. He wants all of it. So you have to react to this somehow. That makes it an austerity. And then finally, suppose you have accepted the austerity of hearing submissively, you accepted the austerity of applying this to your own life, and you therefore realize something. Then what comes next? What's the tertiary austerity of knowledge? When you go out and try to share it with somebody, you'll find that they're not always receptive. Because this is I said already, this is the prison house of the Lord's creation. Only the misfits and the troublemakers are sent here, and that's us. So janma sartha kari karoparupakar. First, we have to rectify ourselves in spirit. Then we have to actually take this austerity of knowledge. Then we have to actually act on the knowledge, and hopefully we can share it. It's very clear to me from Prabhupada's purport that his conclusion is, of this verse, is that you have to share Krishna consciousness with others. He says it. Charity. This is his version of charity. So, and it all starts with chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is the easiest and the most efficacious way to become self-realized and God-realized in this Kali Yuga. It's especially meant for the Kali Yuga, and that's coming from the Kali Santarana Upanishad. The Upanishad that's all about how to get delivered in the Kali Yuga. That's what the name means, isn't it? Kali Santarana, the total deliverance from Kali Yuga. So, it's a simple thing. All we have to do is chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada was very amused because one of his disciples brought a cartoon to him. It shows a person dying on his deathbed, and their son, who is a devotee, is saying, chant, chant, chant. And the person dying is saying, can't. This is our position. the same tongue that we're saying can't, I mean, you could have said Hare Krishna. The same things that we're doing every day already, we can do that for Krishna. Who's going to lose anything? No, nothing. You're doing your duty anyway, fine. We're not saying stop doing your duty and move to some Himalayan cave, and Radhanath Swami already tried that. It doesn't work. So, do your duty, be responsible in this world, but do it in such a way that it elevates you and pleases Krishna. And whatever you eat, definitely that's something you want to offer to God, because otherwise, what does Krishna say about those who are eating things just for... Punjate te tuagham papam. You're just eating mountains of sin. In Bengal, they have a joke, because it's like, rice culture, like the Tamils. They eat on banana leaves and big pile of rice. But I think the Bengalis are even more enthusiastic about rice. I mean, they really have there's a joke in Bengali that says, a bona fide Brahmin has such a high mountain of rice on his banana plate that even a cat cannot jump over it. Yeah, so this is the idea. So whatever you're eating, you take that mountain of rice and you offer it to Krishna, Annakuta, right? This is Srinathji in particular, or Giriraj Govardhan. Or if you're from Puri east side, then who's eating a lot there? Chappana Bhoga. He likes to eat also. These are the deities who eat. So, these are the things Krishna is telling us. And tapasya. There's no advancement anywhere in life without tapas. And the most crying need in the modern day and age, what kind of tapasya do we really need to focus on? Jnana tapasya. That means we have to open these books and read them, because so much we're missing only because we haven't even heard yet. And how many? 60 volumes. And how many hundreds and thousands of shlokas are there? Each one has a unique significance, like a multifaceted jewel. And the commentaries of our predecessor acharyas bring out the different nuances that are reflected in each of those verses. It's an endless ocean of jewels, this Krishna consciousness, and particularly the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So we have to make, while we can, one of the tapasyas we should perform for sure is to dive into the deep ocean of nectar that is these books, Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gita, and others, that Prabhupada worked so hard while the rest of the world slept to translate and publish. All right. And then if we do that, then we become the person that Krishna is talking about at the end of chapter 6. Yogi namapi sarvesham. Same. Okay? All right, so we'll stop here. But if anybody has any comments or any questions, yes. What is your name?
My name is Kolodip.
Kolodip, okay, yeah.
Thank you for so nicely explaining everything. And very spontaneous also. I have a question regarding that, the first appearance of a jiva from the spiritual world.
Oh my God. Prabhupada would never even entertain this question, and neither do I, because it really is just a moot question. There's no beginning of somebody who is eternal, period. That just kills it right there.
It's like how to understand that.
You don't understand it. You accept it. You don't have to understand it. Are you ready for that? You got to surrender.
Prabhuji, my question is not...
He's not surrendering.
My question is regarding how Lord Brahma, he comes, like when Jiva falls down, he comes as Lord Brahma. But we see that, in Guru Parampara, Lord Brahma is in the top.
Yes.
So how he can actually go down? Because our Parampara is a Bhagavad Parampara.
Baba, how many Brahmas are there? There's not just one. Some of them are conditioned souls. Ours is not a conditioned soul. How many universes? You haven't heard this story?
Yes.
Yeah, so many hundreds of thousands of universes. Each one has his own Brahma. Some of them are bewildered. Some of them are chasing after their own daughters. And some of them are self-realized perfectly. So it's not an issue. And the origin of the jiva is also a non-issue. No need to discuss. There's no origin. You know, there's an important distinction to be made here between Christian theology and Vedic theology regarding the soul. We call it soul, but actually the real word is Atman. And Atma is not the same thing as soul. But for lack of a better term, we have to use that word. But it really isn't exactly the same thing. In Christian theology, soul is like a ray. A ray has a certain point of origin and continues ad infinitum in some direction, correct? You all are, many of you are engineers, you know this. And a line has no beginning and no end. That is Atman. It's a very crucial distinction. So if we had a beginning, then there would be any question of, where did we originate from? We speak like that for the same convenience that we translate the word Atman as soul. Just, conceptually, just to give us the idea that we're part and parcels of Krishna. But in fact, we were never created, we're eternal. So it's a mood issue, as I said. There's no point in even discussing. And especially it's like, what is that, Kakatal Nyaya. I mean, you can argue forever about this, but it is a pointless argument. And Krishna says in the 11th canto, what is that verse? You probably know it. Hyastisti nastiti bhirartanishta. I forget this now. Anyway, he says that on the basis of incomplete realization, people argue that, this or that position. And they're intransigent. They're very stubborn about it, even though neither one of them realizes fully anything. And Krishna says such people never understand that they've already turned away from me. It has nothing to do with devotional service. The people that argue, especially on the internet. If internet was available when I joined ISKCON, I might not have joined ISKCON. So many confused people saying so many ridiculous things. Just shut up and take on the austerity of knowledge and learn something. Then you don't need to deal with all this nonsense. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah.
You mentioned about when in shower you can meditate on
Yeah, you can.
How did you develop this attachment and affection for the Dham while living in this world?
How do you develop that affection and attachment? You just have to worship Krishna. You have to chant Hare Krishna. You have to read Prabhupada's books. You do have to visit the Dham. That's an important thing. Or at least you have to realize that your local temple is also the same Dham. What is the verse? Vanam tu satviko vaso gramo rajasa uchyate tamasam dyuta saranam to, what else? Manniketam tu nirganam. Krishna says, to live in the forest, that is sattvic. To live in the city, that's passionate. To live in a sinful place, Las Vegas, that is tamoguna. But to live in my abode, manniketam, my house, that is transcendental, nirganam. So, temple, but it's not so easy to realize that divine nature, everywhere. Somehow or other, there's some special mercy there in the Dham. That's why we're advised to go and visit these places, Mayapur, Vrindavan, especially, and by the mercy of that Dham itself, and especially if we spend some time there. At the same time, we have to be very careful, because it's very easy to offend the Dham also, just like it's very easy to offend the deity or to offend the holy name or to offend the devotees or the spiritual master. We always have to be careful about that. And for that reason, Srila Prabhupada generally didn't recommend young people in particular settling at an early age in the Dham. And even he was so conservative that he instead recommended that people spend 2-3 days at a time there. He really felt that, the Dhammavasa in Vrindavan Dham in particular, it's meant for retired people and sannyasis, renunciates. Because otherwise it's most likely that we will commit offenses, because we all know we do commit offenses. So, otherwise, there's no simple answer for these questions. The process of Krishna consciousness is the answer. We just have to be patient and determined and adi, as we discussed last night. Is that okay? Anything? Yes. What is your name? Balimardan. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I was also getting some from Vrindavan particular insight regarding your Christianity, the one which is conversation with Prabhupada. And so he was also mentioning that, Krishna is immoral. So he said that there is a statement when the nun becomes the devotee or they accept the nunship in the Christianity, they say, Jesus is my husband.
Yes.
So then we have how many, they said, how many nun in the world? Let's say millions. So Jesus is the husband of millions. So what problem Krishna is husband of millions?
Okay.
So they basically...
It's hard to argue with that.
In India, sometimes the conversion people come, so stop them, then they stop. Okay, that's fine. We are good. We are not going to ask that question. Next question. Then we'll find out next answer.
All right. Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My name is Om Shankar. I wanted to touch base on the point that you mentioned about Atman and its distinction as a slightly or subtly distinct from soul. So, the ultimate question that always can be asked is, can Krishna dissolve these various Atmans or spawn them as he desires and dissolve them as he desires? If no, then he doesn't have control.
Yes.
If yes,
Another ancient question.
yes.
Perennial question and, unresolvable question. Here's the thing. The answer to your question is no and yes. Are you satisfied?
Yes.
Okay.
And no.
Case closed. In other words, the nature of the absolute truth is achintya bheda bheda. Whatever you say about the absolute truth, the opposite thing is also true. And this is how this is reconciled. It is not possible within the purview of our mundane logic. But it is resolvable within the realm of devotional service. It's like, we're so attached to the Procrustean bed of our logic, we're not ready to admit that there's certain things just don't fit there. It's like a square peg in a round hole. How are you going to do that? Doesn't work. So, the problem is not Krishna consciousness. The problem is not that Krishna consciousness is full of contradiction, because it is. The problem is that we're trying to fit Krishna consciousness within our mundane logic where it does not belong and cannot go. Mundane logic is an unsuitable bed to rest Krishna consciousness upon. That is the problem. It's like science also is this way. People are just too attached to the static parameters of their mundane science, and they cannot admit anything beyond it. But Krishna consciousness is not like that. And this is why Srila Prabhupada said, unless you accept the achintya shakti of the Lord, you cannot really have any real true conception of God. You can hardly be a theist even, because, he is inconceivable. It's a fact. So, Jiva Goswami has compiled his entire Shat Sandarbhas, his magnum opus, philosophical work, definitive statement of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, on the resting on the keystone of this achintya shakti, because it really is the cornerstone of our whole philosophy. And it's what separates us, say, from Nimbarka Acharya's Bheda Bheda philosophy. What's the difference between Bheda Bheda and achintya Bheda Bheda? It doesn't require
the other
much
one
thought.
is inconceivable.
Yeah, the centrality of the achintya shakti is the main difference. So that's all there is to it. Now people can say this is a cop-out, but you cannot show me any acharya who does not cop out of this maya problem in one way or another. Shankaracharya does it, by appealing to some vague notion of anirvachaniyam, which is the same thing as achinchita, right? And Madhvacharya is an extremist. He just says, it's there's a hard duality, but he can't explain, how those are, how that frees Bhagavan from responsibility for everything that happens, just like Christianity. In fact, some people compare Madhvacharya to St. Thomas Aquinas for that reason. Vallabhacharya goes to the other end of the pendulum swing. He just says it's all the one, it's all the same thing, but it's all Krishna. And he has no answer for where Maya comes from. He says that it's Bhagavan's creation for the sake of Leela. It doesn't feel like Leela to me. But, all due respects, he has his reasons for preaching whatever he preaches. Ramanujacharya is probably the closest, because he says yes, there is Dvaita and Advaita, but Advaita, but there is Vishishta within that Advaita. That's about the closest one that comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. But he doesn't explain it because you can't explain it. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the only one who says that you can't explain it. So that in itself is a very significant contribution to the discussion. So in this way, Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta is the mature synthesis of every possible aspect that has been discussed about Vedanta philosophy before. Is that okay? It's hardcore philosophy. It's, yes.
Thank you, Prabhu, for such an amazing lecture. I really appreciate the direct and crisp answers that you've given. Thanks for reminding us again in a very crisp way what is the process we need to follow. So if we are doing all the things that you mentioned, reading the Shastras, chanting, trying to not offend the devotee, serve my Guru, how do I know that I am still on the right path? How will Krishna reciprocate? So I know that someday, after some lifetimes, I will find Krishna.
Oh, we already know that. We don't need proof for that. There's a devotee from the very outset. He has the faith that what is that? Avashya Rakhipe Krishna, Vishwas Palan. He keeps it like children. Do your children, do they ever cry that maybe you're not coming home? No, they know the Mata is there. She'll come. She'll feed me. This is what we should. So simple. Jesus Christ in Christianity also said, you should be like little children, then it will be a lot easier. Means they just have simple faith. And we think that we're too sophisticated, or we're too intelligent, or we're too advanced for that simple faith, which means that we're just rascals. But devotee has no problem just his blind faith in Krishna, because look at the caliber of people who have done so in the past. This is why Krishna mentions in that verse we quote 4:10, many people have done this already. Hey, children, Shanti Raho. So, we have to place our faith in the integrity of these great acharyas. So many of them. Even Shankaracharya, right?
Just a quick follow-up question. What are the signs when Krishna reciprocates?
Second. Can you hear me? Someone asked Srila Prabhupada essentially the same question. How do we know when Krishna is pleased with our service, right? What's the signs that... And anybody know what the answer? I mentioned this. No. His answer, there are many answers to this question, but how do we know Krishna is pleased with our service? Prabhupada said, when he tells you. So just, carry on. You already have faith that's unshakable. We've discussed it. So, hote. One day, you'll come in first thing early in the morning, and you'll see that the refrigerator door is already open because Krishna's there trying to take the butter out. It can happen, right? So it's just a question of love. If you want that, then he's ready. Even here in, where are we? San Jose, California. It can even in 2024. It's possible. This thing is eternal. It's going on forever. You cannot stop it. It's what we are. You cannot, I like to say, you cannot erase dharma. You can only efface it. So that we try to do that. But it doesn't work. You can't get rid of it. So yeah, just carry on with the process, and gradually Krishna will reveal more and more, and we will see. And eventually we will, as we said earlier, we will begin to appreciate his name and his qualities and his form and his pastimes, and before we know it, we're participants in that Bhagavatam.
Thank you so much.
Anything else? Online questions. Mukunda Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
First question is, Maharaj, if someone asks how to have faith that Krishna lifted Govardhan hill or that he danced on Kaliya, how to answer them?
I mean, this is really basic. It really depends on who are we talking about here. I mean, you're talking to a Muslim, or you're talking to some neophyte, or it depends on the individual's adhikar. How it really requires empathy. For those of you who were there in Dublin the other night, you might have heard us say this. Krishna tells us in chapter 6, text 32, that the foremost of all the yogis is somebody who can empathize with others. And that's because there's no way to preach to someone unless you can understand where he's coming from. It's vital importance to have this ability. And it comes, gradually through the practice of Krishna consciousness and the wisdom that ensues from that practice. It's hard to give a pat answer to that kind of a question. It's a very open-ended, vague sort of a... But, there are many things we could say. It just depends on the person who's asking.
Super. And another question someone asked, Maharaj, you suggested to offer Krishna's favorite food. So question is, what is Krishna's favorite food, and how do I offer food? Right way to offer.
Butter. And you put misri in it. And you give it to him first thing in the morning. You'll get his mercy.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Mangalarti sweets, what do we call that offering? Anybody know? Balya Bhoga. Because that time of the day he's considered to be in his Balgopal form. That's why we don't give him grains. When I was on Radha Damodar, we had a very high standard. You know what we used to offer at Mangalarti? Barfi, Sandesh, Rasgulla, Kheer, half a dozen, all milk sweets, all different kinds. Rabri, everything. So this, you're the limit. As much bhakti as you have. There's a beautiful verse in Padyavali. He says, as strong as the devotee's desire is for Krishna to eat, that commensurately Krishna's hunger increases. If you don't really care, you just put it on in some mechanical mantras, and then, he'll just take a look at it and okay, yeah. But, if you really want Krishna to enjoy it, he'll come back. He won't even wait for you to put it on the altar if you love him that much. He'll come into the kitchen and get it. It is a fact. There's stories like this. Okay, another question? No. Okay, anybody else? Last chance. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, my question may be silly, but it's a question. We chant...
His question was silly. It's out of love.
We keep on chanting in terms of Krishna's consciousness, we say that Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Yes.
While talking about Krishna, we are also listing Ram.
Yes.
Why is it so? Is there any deep meaning or logic?
Somebody likes Ram more. Somebody likes Krishna more. Now my question is this: what does Hare Ram mean? Who is that Ram? Somebody says Balaram, somebody says Radharaman, somebody says Ramchandra, Raghav, somebody else can say Parashuram. What are they?
Yeah.
All of them are okay. Yayatamam prapadyante tatataiva bhajamyaham. If you love the Lord in a particular form, the Lord will come to you in that particular form that you love. And so when we're chanting Hare Krishna, this is what we realize according to our own bhava.
Okay.
Just like now that everybody's excited about Ayodhya, we have Ram Lala, right? Now I've lost track of the number of people who have told me that, we look at this deity, we don't see that he's Raghava. He looks like Krishna. Because they're all Krishna devotees. So, it's an individual thing.
Thank you.
Okay. That's right. Actually, I had an argument with a Pandit in Udaipur. Udaipur, maybe it was Ujjain, I don't remember. One of these places. Which one has a Dwarkadish temple? Anybody from there? Huh? No, not that one. I mean, this is it's either Ujjain or Udaipur. No, I think it's Ujjain. Ujjaini. Anyway, the Pandit was pointing out that there's no such word as Hara. Therefore, you cannot say that Hare means Srimati Radharani. You can make the word, that's okay. But there's no such word. It's not in the dictionary. But we accept this as Aitiham, something coming from our Acharya since time immemorial. But actually, according to grammatical point of view, the word is evocative of Hari. So Hari Krishna, and Hari Rama. There's no conflict there. But if we take it as Srimati Radharani, then it would be tough. But there's no need for such. These are pedantic arguments. They're not really necessary. Okay, so then last question.
Just one follow-up question. How do we know more about Srimati Radharani?
You find a bona fide spiritual master. And that means you have to know what are the qualifications of a bona fide spiritual master. And that means you have to study Srila Prabhupada's books to know who is a bona fide spiritual master. And then he'll teach you everything. That's the easy thing. Because he's a representative of Srimati Radharani, maybe even a personal associate of Srimati Radharani. So, who would know more than her close associates? So, that's a simple answer for a simple question. Is it satisfying?
Any books you recommend?
All of them. Begin with Bhagavad-gita, then read Srimad-Bhagavatam, then Nectar of Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and others in your spare time.
Do you recommend reading the books of Acharyas?
After you read these 4 or 5 books that I mentioned, after you study Srila Prabhupada's books carefully. Otherwise, it's guaranteed, I've seen it, it's guaranteed that people will misunderstand everything else that they read. Because the baseline intelligence is just not so much prevalent in society. What Prabhupada has given us is a very, very special contribution to the world of religious cultivation. It's the exclusive property of the pure devotees, and it's very uncommon. It's very rare. Most people don't recognize that, even amongst its so-called followers. It's very, very special thing. So, that's why we say you read Srila Prabhupada's books, especially Bhagavad-gita, first. And then in order, you have to read first canto, second canto, third canto, Adi, Srimad-Bhagavatam, etc. Okay? And pray at the same time. Pray, chant Hare Krishna. All right, thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Only in ISB. You have an announcement or?
No, I was asked to...
Extra credit question.
No, I was asked to give the vote of thanks. So thank you, Mukunda Datta Prabhu, for coming, gracing with your amazing oratory, kirtan, and excellent, insightful answers to all the questions, and taking us to Vrindavan, taking us to be on the daily life. So thank you so much. And
कम से कम कोशिश कर रहे हैं. अगर आप लोगों की कृपा होगी तो जरूर मैं भी कृष्ण कॉन्शियस बन जाएंगे.
कम से कम नहीं, अधिक से अधिक कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna.
And with that, a big round of applause again.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. It's so much fun to come to ISB. Very much appreciable. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai.